Okay. Yeah. Hello everyone. Yeah. So let's get started. Current affairs, August. Okay. Now this is I think the third part for August. First, the initial ones are from PIB. Okay. So there were many questions. Okay, parliamentary questions. What were being asked to the government there? Some of them are some things that are not covered here and there, or some new things are there. So those topics I have picked. Otherwise, most topics what they are asking in questions like what has happened in bio E3 policy, or how India has performed in the space sector. Some things like this we have already taken in the current affairs also. Also in the main science and tech lectures we try to cover those. Okay. Now this is something that is left behind. Okay. This is Parliament question on environmental safeguards for heavy mineral sand mining and rare earth minerals. Okay, now there are a few things here. This is again at the intersection of geography, environment, and science and tech. Okay, you can include economy also. So again, left here and there, everywhere. We'll try to cover it properly. Now, see this first thing. So what has happened? This is AMD, Atomic Minerals Directorate for Exploration and Research. This comes under Department of Atomic Energy. Now, what they have done is basically they have tried to identify the locations for beach sand minerals. What is a beach sand mineral? So you might have heard this was also a question. Monazite bearing sands you must have heard of. Okay, so what are these? So this is where from which we are getting thorium, for example. So many important rare elements are found here. Many rare earth metals as well as all these radioactive metals, all these are found here. Okay, now so that is why something known as beach sand minerals becomes important. Now this was established as a deposit. Okay, so this deposit in Pudupuram and Kuddalur BSM deposit is being tested in Tamil Nadu right now. Now, what are the possibility of minerals? So these are monazite, ilmenite, and zircon. Okay, this is for titanium. This is for zirconium. This is a zirconium silicate. This is titanium and iron mix, and this is for rare earth elements. So these are the three names. Now, two of them has actually been asked by UPSC. Monazite as well as ilmenite have been asked by UPSC. These are related to what kind of metals. Okay, so these three are very important. This quantity is not so important to us. Okay, then now, so this is what they have done. Now, apart from that, because this was a parliamentary question, so government is telling some things more. So what government is telling? The steps adopted by the government of India to curb illegal sand mining and unauthorized export of strategic monazite sands in India are listed below. If you ever read monazite sands, it's written or not written, always remember about thorium. Okay, very important to us. Now, so government wants to stop the illegal mining of this, because see, these are present on the beaches, correct? Now from that monazite side, very small amount of all these important elements are available. Now sometimes they are exported out and sometimes they are extracted illegally. So government wants to stop that. Now for that, what they are doing? So one step is Ministry of Mines. Ministry of Mines has issued notification this. Now, what they have amended is earlier it used to have a very small threshold. Till that point, you can get it out, otherwise it becomes illegal. Now, what they have done, they have reduced the threshold value of monazite for BSM occurring in beach sand or placer deposits to 0% in total heavy minerals. So now they have, which resulted in bringing the overall BSM deposits of the country under the complete control of the government companies. Why? Because now the threshold is 0%. Okay, now next thing, next that they have done is basically this. So MCDR, you might know about this, Mineral Conservation and Developmental Rules 2017. Okay, makes it mandatory for all miners, traders, stockists, exporters, end users, everyone. They have to register for their production, trade, utilization of minerals to the state government and Indian Bureau of Mines, as the case may be, or AMD. So basically they have to register. Now in case of some minerals, the overall jurisdiction is with the state government. That is also something that is a bill has been brought to change that also, that central governments want more control over minerals. Okay, now see, state governments were requested to set up task forces at state and district level to control illegal mining. Now, to understand this, you first understand this section of Mineral and Mines Development Act 1957. So this section actually says that state governments have to make rules for preventing illegal mining, transportation and storage of minerals and for the purposes connected therewith. Hence, control of illegal mining comes under the legislative and administrative purview of state governments. So who has the responsibility and ability to stop illegal mining? It is the state government. That is why here also what central government is doing on their part, they are asking the state governments, were requested to set up task force at state and district level to control illegal mining. Understood? Why? Because this was a state subject. Then the MOM through Indian Bureau of Mines has developed the mining surveillance system, a satellite based monitoring system. So this also they have developed to constantly monitor it. Now another kind of issue is basically radiation hazard. Now what to do about radiation hazard, exposure, all this? So basically what you have is, whenever you put up a mining lease, you also need a letter of intent is issued. Now this is issued only after careful consideration of environment impact assessment, correct? Then which is submitted to Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Then the next thing is radiological survey of bark. Okay, bark issues a radiological survey and that is also given. Then only you can do the mining processes. Then further, the mining operations for atomic minerals including RE bearing minerals from coastal areas are environment friendly. Now this government is telling from its own end that if we talk about this rare earth metals from the sands. Okay, now as you can understand, sand is very clearly easily available. It's not like it is available very deep inside the earth, so it does not involve a lot of drilling or operations like that. So this is actually fundamentally much more environment friendly than the other minings that we do. Okay, so this is it for this topic. Then next is this. This is about Parliament question on applications of space tech. Nothing much here. So basically what they have told is, it is talking about applications, but what government has focused on is telling in their answer, what they have told is major missions that we have completed in recent past few years. Then they have talked about applications, how it can be applied in different fields, and at last they are also telling about the future missions that we have, the important future missions. So this is a very good PIB article if you consider it for mains. Okay, so main all the missions are covered here. Okay, so what are the main missions? Okay, this you should just know by the name. Chandrayaan 3, what it did, lunar south pole for the first time, soft landing done by India. Aditya L1 is for observing the sun, correct? Then exposat is what? Astronomical X-ray sources, correct? Then next is SpaceX was what? Space docking experiment, because we have to dock. Dock means what? Basically, this is a, let's say, a spacecraft. Now you want to get to, let's say, International Space Station. Now you want to dock it perfectly. Otherwise, if it is not docked perfectly, it will just create collision. Correct? So that is called docking experiment. That also we have done successfully. NISAR is very important. Correct? NASA, ISRO, synthetic aperture radar. So basically, this is a joint collaboration of NASA and ISRO, and it will provide us a lot of Earth observation data, not just to us, but the entire world. It is a very big mission. Then GSAT 7R, this is also called Communication Satellite 03, CMS 03. This is India's most advanced indigenously developed military communication satellite. Okay, remember this. So CMS 03 is a military communication satellite. Okay, then it talks about major applications of space tech undertaken during last 3 years by ISRO or Department of Space. Now see, again this, each of them can become means question. Okay, so basically it talks about, see, in agriculture how we are using this, state based crop area, yield estimation, crop monitoring, soil moisture, all this can be monitored from space. Okay, when we do GPS, when we understand remote sensing, then we see that how the reflections, infrared radiations, all these are read by the satellites or detected by the satellites to gauge that what is the moisture content of the soil. Okay, what is the yield estimation based on different factors. So all those are taken care of. In fact, this is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. This Yojana is what? Fasal Bima. What is Bima? Bima is insurance. So how insurance is provided, okay, on your crop fields, that are also monitored from the space itself. Okay. I need some time, like 15-20 minutes.
15 minutes. 5 minutes wind up कर दिया आज कोई नहीं
So, okay, I'll guide them. Okay, then disaster management. Okay, so near real time satellite based monitoring of floods, landslides, cyclones, forest fire, GLOFs, droughts, all this is done in disaster management. Then NDMA Bhuvan, this is NDEM. Okay, this is also important. So NDEM, you see here. What is this? This is National Database for Emergency Management 5.0. Okay, so this, all this is being done from the space itself. Then some more things are given here. For example, disaster management, you can mention about Bhuvam, that we have, that can map the entire earth. Okay, then landslide atlas of India. Similarly, for governance, you have geospatial technologies. Okay, so all these different initiatives are given here. Urban frame survey, green cover index. So all this you can remember for your mains. Okay, then it talks about upcoming missions. So there is Gaganyaan. We've talked about this up to number of times. India's first human space flight. Then there is Venus orbiter mission. Okay, this is India's first dedicated mission to study atmosphere, surface, geological environment of Venus. Then Chandrayaan 4. So in what we are doing in Chandrayaan 4 is basically we want to land on lunar surface and extract lunar samples out of it. Correct? Here the aim is what? Land on lunar surface and extract lunar sample. But if we talk about LUPEX, Lunar Polar Exploration, or Chandrayaan 5 mission, this is a joint collaboration of ISRO and JAXA. And what this is up to, so here we won't be taking the sample and bringing it on Earth and then doing the things. We want to do in situ studies. In situ studies means what? Right then and there, those equipments will be there which can conduct research on the surface of the moon itself. That is the aim of Chandrayaan 5 or LUPEX. Okay, then now this is a little typical topic. Okay, we'll try to understand it first, then it will just become very factual. Okay, now see this. Now, this is about epigenetics. Okay, epigenetics. Now, what is this? Understand this. See, for a long time in the world, we understood DNA. Okay, so we understand DNA. This is DNA like this. Now, DNA has all those encodings, and from those encodings are how our entire body is governed. That we understand. But don't you think that if this is, let's say, your RBC, okay, or let's say your WBC, whatever, and this is your liver cell. Now, this is your white blood cell, this is your liver cell. Now, don't you think they respond very differently? Correct, they have the same genetic makeup. We keep talking about this, that our DNA is present in every cell. That is why you might have seen in forensics, okay, even if they get one strand of hair, they are able to get the DNA of the person. Correct, from saliva also, from blood also. So all of these things have the DNA. Correct, so DNA is the same in almost same in all these cells, but they react very differently, they do very different functions. Now why is that? Because which parts of the DNA at what time will provide what function or will get activated, at what time what part of DNA gets activated, this actually changes. Okay, at what time different parts gets activated, this actually changes for different organs or cells, and this is decided by a few factors. This whole thing is called epigenetics. So what is happening? You're not changing the DNA, or the DNA is not changing, but what it is acting on or how it is reacting changes. Ultimately, what matters to us? Expression matters to us, that what part of the genes is getting expressed. Correct, that is why it becomes such an important field. Now understand, changes in gene expression, not genes, gene expression without changing the DNA sequence. Understood? Now determines which genes are on or off in the cell. So there are two mechanisms here in epigenetics. Like there are two mechanisms, on off and up down. What is on off? On off is this part of the gene, this part of the DNA is on. That means whatever is encoded here will become protein. This part is off. That means whatever is written here will not become protein. This is on off. Now, what is up down? Correct. So basically, let's say if I am talking about this part, now right around this part, there are something known as activators or recessors. Now what they can do is basically this part of the gene becomes more active, or the frequency at which this is being formed or the ease with which it forms increases, then more and more of this will be produced. Or in the other case, when it is being recessed, less and less of this will be produced. So there are two ways, on and off and up and down. Understood? Then can be influenced by environment and lifestyle, and this has been proved in recently in case of mice. So in mice, what they saw is some of the things that came from environmental factors, like in the environment in which the mice was growing, so some changes came in them. Correct. Now those changes didn't make any changes in the DNA, but it was somehow passed down, to the future generations. For example, you might have heard that because India, our forefathers suffered a lot of famines during the British period and earlier. That's why we have a pot belly right in front of us, because our body has a tendency to store more fat. Why? Because our forefathers survived famines. Do you really think it changed the DNA? Not really. What it changed is which part of the DNA is more active or less active, which parts are on or off. Now, though these things are somehow inherited into the offspring as well. Correct? And this is not like irreversible in nature. This is reversible, but it tends to pass through the future generations also. Maybe after a few generations, this will keep on reducing. This is the core of epigenetics. Now, three major mechanisms. Okay, see this. So three major mechanisms. One is DNA methylation, other is histone modification, and last is microRNA. What is this DNA methylation? So basically what happens, there are certain compounds, there are certain methyl groups, some compounds that will get attached, let's say in this part. Sometimes it will turn this gene off. So it got attached here and now this gene has been turned off. So this is not getting expressed, correct? Now these methyl groups are just some compounds. This is not part of your DNA, correct? Then next is histone modification. So basically we have seen that this is histone proteins and around it are the DNA, correct? Now sometimes on these histone DNA, histones, certain molecules get wrapped. Now sometimes when it is very tightly bound, those molecules, then it tends to, if it is tightly bound, then it tends to put the expression of that particular gene off. If it is very loosely bound, it provides more space, and whatever is the genetic code written there, it becomes on, correct? This is another way. You don't need to know the details, I'm just telling you. Okay, so DNA methylation, histone modification, microRNA is what we have talked about a lot. This is also what Nobel Prize winner in 2024 has proved. Okay, now last thing is microRNA. So microRNA, what it does, once the DNA part has become mRNA, then that mRNA has to be converted into proteins, correct? That mRNA has to be converted into proteins. Right there, this microRNA stops it. What microRNA does is basically, so this is the mRNA. This microRNA will go and hug it like this. Now what will happen? This microRNA never gets converted into proteins and the expression is stopped. Understood? So these are the three mechanisms. Now it is used everywhere. Why it's important? It explains how cell with the same DNA become different cell types, links genes with environment or lifestyle, important in cancer, aging, precision medicine. All these are applications of it. Understood? Okay, so that's it for this current affairs lecture. Thank you.